Screenwriting is the hardest and most important part of the filmmaking process. You can have the best cameras, actors, location, AI tools, but if the story doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. So in this video, I'm going to give you a simple, beginner-friendly process to start writing a screenplay even if you've never written one before. Hi, I'm Michael Basili. I've written and produced hundreds of projects from indie shorts to ads to feature films. I've developed TV and feature screenplays inside of professional writers' rooms, help writers get staffed and sell scripts, and I'm also the engineer behind Scriptmatix, an AI-powered screenplay development platform built to help writers go from idea to killer screenplay with clarity and control. I'm going to show you how I use AI in the process, but this is not about letting AI write the movie for you. That's not the winning formula. This is about using a clear process so that your idea has the best chance to compete. We're going to cover 7 things: how to build a concept, how to build a protagonist, how to create an antagonist, how to write a strong logline, how to build a dramatic structure, how to develop your screenplay like a professional, and how to get feedback and rewrite like a pro. And if you stay until the end, I'm going to give you a free feedback and rewrite resource to help bring your story to the professional level rapidly. Let's get started. A concept is the central idea or hook of the story. And catch me if you can, it's a teenager who becomes one of the most successful con artists in American history. In Jurassic Park, it's a theme park filled with clone dinosaurs that start killing people. And in Rocky, it's an unknown boxer who gets one shot at the heavyweight championship. A strong concept just makes the audience say, okay, I'd watch that. And most screenwriters don't start with a full story. They start with that spark. It's a character, a situation, something from their real life. And honestly, that is enough. But here is what the beginners usually miss. A concept becomes powerful through your protagonist, your hero, your central character. The cool idea is really just the packaging. The story is about a person going through something. So let's say your concept is about a struggling musician trying to make it. That's a start, but it's not a screenplay yet because that could be a comedy, a tragedy, musical drama, whatever. The protagonist is what makes it specific. So before we jump into plotting, you need to build the protagonist. So let's stay with this musician example. You have a character who wants to make it. Now ask, well, who is this person? Well, most beginners start writing a backstory. They're going to say, well, he comes from a small town, mom's an alcoholic, dad never believed in him, etc., etc. And that can be useful, but you can create endless backstory and still not have a movie. What you want to do is start with the protagonist's main objective. I call this the tangible objective. The tangible objective is the central plot mechanism of a screenplay. Simply put, it's what the protagonist is trying to achieve in the outside world. It's a visible goal. It's what they're chasing. So even if the TV or the screen was muted, we could still understand what they're trying to do. So for our musician, I want to make it is too vague. You want to ask, well, how does that physically manifest? Is it a record deal, a sold out concert, a viral song? That's a little better, but we can still get more specific. A strong tangible objective is a goal located in space and time. That means we know where it happens and when it must happen. So for example, the musician must perform at a specific venue on a specific night in front of a specific producer. Now we have a goal. It's a location and a deadline. Now, I gotta say, a deadline is not necessary, but as a beginner, take my advice and use it now. You see, a deadline has a powerful effect that you should learn immediately because time creates pressure. If the musician just wants to be successful someday, there's no urgency. But if he has 1 week to drive across the country to get on a specific stage, now he has to act. And when choices have consequences, the audience stays engaged. So give your protagonist a tangible objective that is specific, visible, and urgent. And frankly, if you have that, you're already ahead of 95% of screenwriters. But there's one more layer: the intangible objective. The intangible objective is the deeper emotional reason behind that tangible objective, right? Some people call this the need or the flaw, the motive, or the lie the character believes. I call it the intangible objective because it's what the character is really trying to feel or prove or become. So if our musician wants to perform at the venue Friday night, that's the tangible objective. But now let's unpack, why does he want that? Maybe he wants to feel important or to prove he's not a failure, or maybe he believes he doesn't deserve love until he succeeds. That's deeper than I want a record deal so I can buy myself a car. See, the intangible objective becomes powerful when it's tied to a false or toxic belief. For example, if I make it, I'll finally be ready to face my estranged father. Now, the story is not just about whether he gets on stage, it's about whether he learns that success can't buy love. That's where transformation comes from. The protagonist chases something external, but underneath, they're wrestling with something internal. When you have both, your story has a real engine. So ask, what does my protagonist want in the outside world, and why do they really want it on the inside? As a beginner, I know this could be difficult, so if you're stuck, I have a free tool that can help you. Go to Scriptmatix.com, create a free account, click Start Your Screenplay, and look for the Character Journey Builder under More Models. You'll enter information about your protagonist, the logline, some birth information, and in minutes, it'll give you a tangible objective, a false operating belief, and a ton more information that's going to be very useful for you here. So now we have a concept, we have a protagonist with a tangible objective and an intangible objective. Next, we need pressure, and that brings us to the antagonist. An antagonist is not always a villain. An antagonist is whatever force applies pressure against that protagonist's tangible objective. Sometimes it is a person, the Joker in The Dark Knight, Thanos in Avengers, Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men. They all apply pressure. But an antagonist can also be an institution. The Capitol in The Hunger Games, the corrupt legal system in Just Mercy, the media machine in The Truman Show. An antagonist can also be social values. In American Beauty, suburban image and social expectations create pressure. In Barbie, patriarchy and identity create pressure. An antagonist can also be environmental. The ocean and the shark in Jaws, Mars and the Martian, space and gravity, the wilderness and the Revenant. The key is simple. The antagonist is the obstacle to the protagonist's tangible objective. See, the beginner mistake is thinking that the antagonist has to be one evil character. It doesn't. Sometimes the antagonist is a person just of different values. In one of my favorite movies, American Beauty, Lester wants to break free from the fake image of success. Meanwhile, his wife, Carolyn, is trapped inside that image. And every character in that entire story is somehow playing on some different shade of that theme. She isn't a cartoon villain. She represents the opposing value system. That's antagonism. You see, in action thrillers and suspense stories, antagonism is usually more direct. Right? In The Dark Knight, the Joker creates chaos that forces Batman into impossible choices. That's direct obstruction. Sometimes the antagonist is just competition. In The Hunger Games, Katniss competes against others who want the same thing she wants, which is survival. So obstruction and competition are really two of the easiest forms of antagonism to understand, but antagonists can pressure the protagonist in many ways. For our musician story, the antagonist could be a rival musician sabotaging him, a record executive exploiting him, a family member pressuring him to quit, or anyone attacking his insecurity that he isn't good enough. Or, you may have picked up on this, all of those characters can be in the story and represent different antagonistic pressures. Each one makes the objective harder, and the harder the journey gets, the more the character reveals who they really are. Now, if you use the character journey builder I recommended earlier, Scriptmatix.com, link below, the supporting character section can actually help you create a network of characters who apply different types of pressures. So once you have that, now you have the core pieces. You have a concept, you have protagonists with a tangible objective and an intangible objective, and you have antagonistic pressure. Now we can build the first real piece of the screenwriting workflow, the logline. So a screenwriting workflow is the process that takes you from idea all the way to finished script. The basic professional workflow looks like this: logline, plot synopsis or treatment, outline, screenplay pages. Each step adds more detail. I call this increasing the narrative fidelity. A logline is just the simplest version of the story. Then you get to the plot tentpoles that put major beats on the table. Then the treatment adds more details around those beats. Then the outline turns the story into scenes, and the screenplay is that fuller version. If you skip steps, the final script usually suffers. It's like making dinner and skipping a part where you're supposed to cook the meat. Okay, you can still present the meal, but nobody's gonna be thinking at the table. So we need to start with a logline, because a logline is a short description of your story, usually 1 or 2 sentences. But if you're a beginner, don't worry about sentence count yet. Focus on clarity. Can you explain your story simply? See, a strong logline usually gives us the setting, the protagonist, the tangible objective, the main antagonistic pressure, and a sense of the stakes. So for example, in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, a teenager bitten by a radioactive spider must learn to become Spider-Man and help other spider people stop a villain from destroying reality. We know the protagonist, the goal, the pressure, and the stakes. In The Hunger Games, a teenage girl volunteers for a deadly televised competition and must survive a system designed to turn children into entertainment. Clear protagonist, clear objective, clear antagonistic force. In Finding Nemo, an anxious clownfish crosses the ocean to rescue his son after he is captured by a diver. As you can see, we want simplicity and specificity. For our musician example, a vague logline would be, a young musician tries to make it in the music industry. That's too general. A stronger version would be, a small-town musician risks everything to move to Los Angeles for a shot at a record deal, but when he learns he has just 90 days before he runs out of money, he must break into the music industry before his dreams and his future slips away. Now we know who he is, what he wants, where he's going, and the timeline, and what failure means. Now you can use AI to generate logline options. Give it your concept, your protagonist, your tangible objective, intangible objective, the antagonistic pressure. Ask for 10 logline options and take the best pieces and build the version that feels closest to the movie you're trying to tell. And again, the goal is clarity. If your first version takes 3 or 4 sentences, that's fine. Tighten it later. But if you cannot explain your story simply, you probably don't understand it clearly yet. That's why this step exists. And if you'd like some feedback on your logline, I'm gonna leave a link below to my free school community. You can join, DM me, and I'm gonna give you some feedback. Now, let's talk about structure. See, a strong dramatic structure is not about following a formula. It's about organizing your best story ideas so they create movement, pressure, and emotional payoff. So once you have your logline, figure out your main plot events. Some people call them the plot points, some call them beats. I like to call them tentpoles because they kind of hold up the entire story. For a feature screenplay, you may have around 14 or 15 major beats. For a TV pilot, maybe 5 or 6 major act movements. For a short, it can be much simpler. The point is not to memorize a giant chart. The point is to understand the major turns in the story. At this stage, you're putting puzzle pieces on the table. For our musician story, I'd ask, where does he start? Why does he believe this is his chance? Who's giving him the opportunity? Who tries to stop him? What does he have to lose? Does he run out of money? Is he sleeping in his car? Does he almost quit? Does he get the performance? That's how the plot starts to form. You're not just making things happen, you're building a journey. For a feature screenplay, you might think about the setup, the catalyst, the break into 2, the midpoint, all is lost, break into 3 finale. I'm not going to break down every structural theory here because that becomes a whole other video, but for now, understand this. Structure helps you locate the major moments where the story changes. It helps you see the skeleton of the plot, and that's why I built the blueprint model inside of Scriptmatix. So if you go to Scriptmatix.com, create a free account, click Start Your Screenplay, and find the blueprint model for your format, either feature, TV, or short. It'll ask you some simple overview questions about your logline and your protagonist. Then it gives you 3 different tentpole versions of your screenplay. And the reason it's like that is because using AI at this stage is about creative options. You don't need to accept one version perfectly. Pull ideas from all 3 and combine them into a stronger structure. That's how screenwriters work. We explore, we test, we look for the strongest version, and we make the final decisions on our own. And if you want a more character-driven version of a blueprint, you can check out my video called The Character First AI Screenwriting Workflow. I'm going to leave the link below. That'll give you 3 more options for the tentpoles, but from a more character-centric perspective. It's a little bit more high level, so you may not want to get into it if you're really truly a beginner, but experiment if you feel motivated. Also, since you made it this far, you're probably serious about writing your script. So I'm going to leave you a promo code for Scriptmatix. Use the code Mike from Scriptmatix15 for 15% off your first month or the full year. That gives you access to all the tools, the models inside of Scriptmatix, so you can build your character journey, generate your tentpoles, and follow the workflow I'm going to be outlining here, and just develop your screenplay with more control. The link is below. Now, once you have your plot tentpoles, the logline, the protagonist, the antagonist, the major plot events, you're ready for the professional development process. Now we move from big picture ideas to a fuller story. The next step is the plot treatment. Now, the plot treatment is just an expanded version of your story. It's more detailed than the tentpoles, but yet not a scene-by-scene outline. Think of it as a story told in prose. This is where the connective tissue starts to form and details start to expand. Relationships expand, conflict expands, supporting characters matter more, and the story should just start to feel more cohesive. At this stage, keep 3 things in front of you: the protagonist tangible objective, the protagonist intangible objective, and the antagonistic pressure. Those three things generate the plot. So if the story gets stuck, you just go back to them. You ask, well, what does the protagonist want right now? And how does this part of the plot serve that tangible objective? Because that's the engine. And yes, I have a tool for this too. Inside your free Scriptmatix account, click Start Your Screenplay and find the control model. It's available for feature, TV, and shorts. You plug your plot phase tentpoles into the overview. You can even add more events with the plot options tool. Then you click Generate Plot and it gives you a full plot treatment with connective tissue. But do not let the tool take you off the hook. AI can organize, expand, and draft, but your taste makes the story yours. So when you get to a plot treatment, read it, use the rewrite toolkit, add details, question it, make it better. That prepares you for the outline. But before we move on to the outline, here's the free gift I promised. Inside of Scriptmatix, we offer analysis at each stage of the development workflow, from plot treatment, outline, and script. There's frankly too many high-level ideas to fit into one video, especially around pressure, anticipation, setups, payoffs. I know writing a screenplay can feel like a lot, so I'm going to give you a free plot treatment analysis. After you generate your plot treatment, click Export on the top right, then go back to your dashboard and click Screenplay Analysis, select Plot Treatment Analysis, go through checkout and use the discount code Mike from Scriptmatix for 100% off. Totally free. That analysis gives you revision suggestions before you move into the outline. Use what feels right to you, make the story better. And once your plot treatment feels strong, the next step is the outline. The outline is your scene-by-scene screenplay plan. If you're in Scriptmatix, you can click Generate Outline from the plot treatment, and in minutes, you're gonna have a full scene-by-scene outline. But this is not the finish line. This is the architecture. For each scene, you're going to have a location, which is your scene header, and prose, the description of what happens in the scene. Now, your main job here is to make sure that each scene moves to the next with clarity. See, before AI, outlining was a little bit of a grind. Now AI can help create a first draft of that outline for you, but you still need creative control. Go through each scene, strengthen the connective tissue, add details, add scenes, rearrange scenes. This is your creation. Take complete control. Clarify what each scene is supposed to accomplish and be direct. You can write, in this scene, I want the character to realize he's running out of time, or this scene should show the friendship starting to fracture, or this scene should have a conversation about a specific subject. That is useful. The outline is the final blueprint before the screenplay pages. Any important details you want in the script should be in your outline. Do not assume that AI will magically know what you want. Be explicit, and once you've lived in that outline long enough and it feels complete, move to the script stage. Now, if you're using Scriptmatix, you click Generate Script from the Outline tab, and you'll get a first draft and perfect screenplay formatting based on your outline. But remember, the first draft is not the final draft. AI can help you get the pages out. It can format the screenplay in industry standard format. It can follow your outline, but the work is just beginning. The first draft is the beginning of the real writing process, because every screenwriter knows screenwriting is rewriting. So feedback is essential, because when you live with a story too long, you stop seeing what actually is on the page and you start seeing what you really meant. In your mind, everything makes sense, right? A character arc is clear, the emotional payoff works, the dialogue is landing. Then someone reads it and says, well, I don't understand why this happened. And suddenly you're thinking like, this person's an idiot, and you feel insulted. Totally normal, by the way. But you still need outside reaction. And Scriptmatix Screenplay Analysis can help you see things like pressure, anticipation, all the different plot devices, and give you suggestions, but that gives you actionable revision notes. A human feedback is different, and it matters too. You want readers who understand what you're trying to do and can tell you, well, where the story is clear, where it's confusing, where the emotional moments are not landing. But here's the key that I had to learn. Never take feedback personally. You are the creative force. You need to know when to take a note and when to let it pass. Not everyone will love your story. That's okay. There are no movies that everyone loves. Somebody watched The Godfather and thought, ugh. You cannot build your screenplay around pleasing everyone. But if multiple readers give you the same note, pay attention. If 3 or 4 people are confused by the same moment, that moment probably needs some work. And if one person gives you a note that doesn't match your intention, don't panic. Beginning writers often treat every note like a commandment. I'm just here to tell you that you don't have to. Take feedback seriously, but stay discerning. Your only job is to put your best foot forward. So when is the rewrite complete. When you are no longer making the story better, writers can get really addicted to rewriting, right? A line here, a word here, a scene heading there, a comma. Suddenly, you're on draft 27 and nothing meaningful has changed. At some point, you need to step away. Take a week or two off. I can tell you from experience, fresh eyes are extremely powerful. Sometimes your brain just needs distance. And rest, for me, I've had to learn, is really a crucial part of the process. So get the feedback, rewrite with intention, but protect your voice and learn when to let the script breathe. So let's recap. You want to start with your concept, find the idea that inspires you and makes you think, well, I want to watch that. Then build your protagonist first. Don't start with endless backstory, start with what they want, give them the tangible objective, make it very specific, remember, located in space and time, add that time restriction, please. Then give them the intangible objective, ask what deeper emotional need or false belief is driving them. Then create that antagonistic pressure. This can be the villain, the institution, the social values, environment, maybe even the character's own inner struggles. Then write a logline. Use it to clarify the story in its simplest form. Then build your dramatic structure. Find the major plot tentpoles that hold your story together. Then move through the professional workflow: plot treatment, outline, script, feedback, and rewrite. That is the process. It doesn't make screenwriting easy, but it makes it clear. And clarity helps you keep going. If you want help, go to Scriptmatix.com, create that free account, and start building your screenplay. Join my school community to connect with me directly. I can help guide you through the app, and use the code Mike from Scriptmatix to get that free plot treatment analysis, and Mike from Scriptmatix 15 for 15% off your first month or a yearly subscription. If this video helped, please like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. I hope this helped you turn your idea into a killer screenplay that inspires the world. Happy writing, and God bless.